Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Lloyd and I source cars for people on a professional basis, hence the name of my channel, Lloyd Vehicle Consulting. 4 years ago, I was asked to come up with a series of videos that were filmed inexpensively. We don't use digital cameras, we don't use fluid head tripods, we don't use shotgun microphones, we wear tatty shirts, we just use a phone. But we look at cars that you can buy for a budget up to £1,000 only, and we very much enjoy ourselves. These are cars that might be in cosmetically bad condition. You might see oil leaks, rattly dashboards and cosmetic imperfections, but we go all over the country and we find these very inexpensive cars that you all seem to enjoy watching.
So we're in the same location as the SMMT test day, but I've been offered the chance to drive something altogether a bit more unusual. So taking a break from the brand new cars, this is a 2003 Volkswagen Passat B5.5 1.8 Turbo SE. It's owned by Mike Humble from various sites like Air Online, Car Mechanics Magazine, and also Auto Britannia, I think was the name of the firm he represents. But his mother-in-law used to own this. She owned it from about 2.5 years old until earlier this year, and it's done a very low mileage. Most of these you would have seen would be, you know, totally worn out. This car is not worn out. There's no clunks with the suspension. Actually, the interior is really good. There's no rust on here. It's a really good car, this, and Mike sort of uses this for the same kind of stuff that I do my Volvo S40, which is like an older daily car doing quite high mileage, and so far it's proving really good. The B5 Passat was launched in 1997, facelift came in 2000 for the 2001 model year, and it was a very different experience from the B4s and B3s that had come previously. You could get an estate version, but this is the saloon. Take a look in the boot. Got the supplying dealer plates on this, originally from Shrewsbury. You can see here just how spacious the boot is. Isn't that amazing? Look at all the stuff you can fit in the boot. Who needs the estate? I really like the look of the facelifted rear end as well. It just looks a lot smarter. They had sort of hundreds of changes over the pre-facelift model, and some different engine options and things like that. But yeah, still a very sort of handsome and quite contemporary looking car, considering the design dates from 1997 and this car is over 20 years old now. Have a look in the interior. Even the doors still open with sort of a nice sort of high quality feel. Lots of Volkswagen Group switch gear, such as the electric mirror switch, interior door handles, electric window switches here, headlamp switch, nice comfortable seats. Mike's done 4,000 miles in this car since his mother-in-law very kindly offered it to him. She's given up driving now, and yeah, no wear on the seat or anything like that. We're on 76,000 miles, which is nothing for one of these. 5-speed manual in this one. You get an automatic as well. Different gearbox actually from things like the Golf, because this is a longitudinally engined car rather than a transverse engine car. This is an upgraded stereo in here. This is one of the only options on this car apart from the paint. Got a CD changer in here, everything works. Got climate control, which is lovely. ESP anti-skid control as well. Then we have this interesting ashtray sort of arrangement here, which sort of bounces back like that. Cup holders don't come out of the dash. I thought maybe one of these would have those, but it doesn't. The cup holders actually are down here. Standard handbrake, which is nice. Actually, it's refreshing when you're on a day with lots of brand new cars full of things like touchscreens and things like that, to come to a nice, simple, sort of ordered layout like this. Obviously, the standard car would have just had probably the top one filled with a single DIN unit for the radio, so you could put a double DIN or a single DIN, it wouldn't really matter. Also, look at the way that these vents operate. These ones are still absolutely fine. one really strange thing is that with the B5.5 facelift, this is the B5.5 of course rather than just a B5, they got rid of the illumination for the controls for the ventilation. So previously this would have been illuminated with a little wheel here, and in this one it's not. Dash is very, very clear. Everything that you might need. We'll see if the glove box takes my secret mission documents, which it does. Amazing. Just put that up there for a little bit later. Big door pockets fitting everything you probably need in here. One thing we haven't got is a sunglasses compartment, which would be nice, but you know, it's not the end of the world, is it? This car's got no cruise control. If it had, it would be on this stalk here. Yeah, it's really sort of comfortable and possibly the sort of zenith of Passat design. We've got releases here as well for the boot and also the fuel filler flap, and there's a lock there to stop somebody opening them if you didn't really want to. I've imagine that's sort of like a valet mode. Let's try the back, see how comfortable it is. It should be nice and comfy in there. That actually looks quite inviting. Got side airbags in this car as well. That's really good. Estate would be even better, but this is fine. Look at all this room. And we've got a little fancy thing here. Look at this. Hidden away the cigarette lighter, and the ashtray's hidden down there as well. Amazing. We've also got this little compartment inside here, the rear armrest, which is absolutely brilliant. It folds away there. I mean, I prefer like a leather interior, so I prefer something like the 2.8 V6. I think the W8's a bit too far for me because I'd never be able to afford to maintain that. But you know, a nice nice V8, nice V6 would be most agreeable. I've driven a Skoda Superb. It's very similar to one of these with that engine, and it was just right. Okay, let's have a look under the bonnet, shall we? So here we go. Here is the 1.8 20 valve 4-cylinder engine, in this case developing 148 horsepower. As you can see, like the Audi A4 we've had on no budget reviews before, and the Skoda Superb, all three cars are based on the same platform. The engine's mounted longitudinally. It's not a transverse engine at all. So we've got things like this coolant reservoir, which would be just the one that they had since the dawn of time. It's not the same. But yes, gas strut, very nice sort of aluminium one, which is completely standard as well. Under bonnet mat. So they really actually did go in for making these cars at least feel very, very high quality. And it's amazing how much these have depreciated. They're not really worth anything anymore, particularly. Unless you get like a W8, which is something else entirely, really. Can't believe they actually squeezed an 8-cylinder engine underneath this bonnet. That is madness. And that was really only sort of for that car. So the sort of engineering of Volkswagen at the time and what they did, sort of money no object, was interesting. Headlamps, unfortunately, these were polished about 4 months ago and they're already going a bit milky because there's no UV protection on plastic, which is a bit annoying. So that's one thing to just be aware of for one of these. See, these are a belt engine, make sure it's been done. That's sort of my advice, because you know, you could easily, if you bought like a normal, I don't know, sort of 1.8 or 2-litre Passat, and it hadn't been done, that could be the whole value of the car wiped out if you need an engine. And make sure you did a water pump. Mike's excellent advice there. Right, let us go for another drive, shall we? So surrounded by all these brand new cars at the S&T test day, how does this Passat actually compare in terms of driving? Well, let's look at some engine options first of all. The basic engine option when the car came out in '97 was a 1.6 litre 4-cylinder with first of all 99 horsepower, then later on in 2001 101 horsepower. A lot of people criticised this car for being a bit underpowered when it was new. Next engine up was a 1.8 20 valve with 123 horsepower, and then this 148 1.8 20 valve turbo, which would be familiar to many of you for you know, years in Volkswagen Group cars. There were also some 2-litre engines available. They started to come in about 2001, I think, with the 5.5 facelift of 2001 model year.
and one of them was quite underpowered, it seemed, 113 horsepower, and then a slightly more powerful one, 128 horsepower. The big ones that I'm interested in though are things like the 2.3 B5, which first sort of with 148 horsepower, sort of replaced in a way by the 1.8 turbo, and then later on with the facelift 168 horsepower. When we get into the crazy stuff, the 2.8 V6 with 190 horsepower, and the top of the range for W8, which was available from about 2003 only, with 271 horsepower. There are also some diesels available, but as usual, due to controversial government legislation and all kinds of other reasons, we don't talk about diesels on this channel. So Mike uses this a lot as a motorway car, and I don't blame him. This is one of the sort of things it was mainly probably designed for. German police used to like the W8 models as well because they're very, very quick. And if you go to fifth gear, it'll pull from about 1,000 RPM. There's lots of torque in this engine. But what I'm sort of more amazed about with this car is actually the fact the suspension is 20 years old. I don't think it's ever been replaced, and it feels really tight. There's no knocking, there's no banging. Clutch bite's a little bit high, it probably needs replacing at some stage, but it's not so bad. I test drove a Kia Rio the other day for a client, and the clutch on that was actually worse, and they hadn't even told us, so there you go. Yeah, just the level of kind of damping and everything like that, and just the weight of the controls is just right. It just had this older Volkswagen feel where things were not built down to a price, and you know, they built things well because they could. The engine feels actually rather flexible. Gearbox is quite nice. It's a little bit worn because it's 20 years old, but that's not too much of a problem. Probably prefer a 5-speed gearbox if it were me, or just, you know, just go for the V6 V6 Auto, which would be a very nice cruise, although you wouldn't get anywhere near the fuel economy in one of those as the 1.8 turbo. So very different from all the other cars I've driven to date, SMT South Test event. I'm very grateful to Mike for letting me have a go in another of his lovely fleet that he has, and it's just a refreshing change really. I think I actually prefer this to some of the cars I've driven today that are brand new, so that's quite a compliment for the B5.5 Passat. Lloyd Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below. So the trim levels available on a B5 Passat were E, which I would probably avoid because there's not much in there. S was the next one up, then Sport, and SE like this one. The V5, for some reason, was its own trim level, and so was the V6. The Highline was the one you want to go for in a post-facelift car, but would have a few more options on it, like cruise control. There's also a synchro, because you could get this car with four-wheel drive actually. The SEL, which again was above this one, and the Trend Line, which I think it was a special edition towards the end of production of these. So viewers, should you consider a B5 or B5.5 Passat for your hard-earned budget, that's worth £1,000? Well, if you could find one that was in this sort of condition, this one's obviously come down through the family, then it would be a good option. But there are lots of these that aren't in as nice condition as this, with rust, skipped maintenance, this general sort of neglect. So maybe avoid those, and you can still pick one of these up for not much money. I imagine this car's worth maybe £2,000 or £3,000, something like that. But you can buy them cheaper if you really want, but they're more of a risk. Anyway, thank you ever so much once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment below, and we shall see you again soon for more extremely cheap motoring.